So I'm just going to stand here awkwardly until Jen puts her thumbs up. We're good.
We're good.
Welcome everyone. Really great to see you. Old faces, new faces, and quite a buzz in the room. That's happy times, particularly after last month's big showing, the AWS offices. I think we hit about 80 odd people at that session, which was our biggest in this version of the group, which is fantastic. Really interesting talk coming up tonight. Brian and his co-founder Jenny will be coming to us from
Sweden. Yep.
Online. Just before we kick off with that, we hit a bit of a milestone in the last 4 weeks or so. 1,400 user group members. So I'm going to make a lot of my own back here, but I thought it would be good to give whoever was the 1400th member a bit of a prize. I'm going to guess they're not here, so I'm going to run through a few names, and you'll need to shout out if yours is there. So our official 1400th member was Peter Blair, who is not here. So I'm going to go in ascending order from there. Claude DeLucia? No. Nikola Milinovic? Amandeep Singh? Jack Menzies? Scott Glue? David Flynn?
There's Scott Glue.
Hey! No problems whatsoever. Commemorative cap. Commemorative AWS credits.
Oh, wow.
Believe these ones you might need to get them in by the end of March, but they'll last a year after that. Okay?
$50, nice.
All right.
Need some OpenAI credits too, you know.
Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Over to you.
Cool. How do I get this up again, the projector? Bit of an anticlimax there. No worries. Do. Let me check the opening. Cool. So this is Jenny. Jenny is joining from Sweden. So she will be doing a 5-minute cameo during the talk. So me, Jenny, and her husband Linus created BedtimeStory, which inspired this talk. So it's an app built on top of OpenAI mostly. We're layering on some other aspects of generative AI. But yeah, it's been a fun build so far, and it's hit some commercial success. So we thought we'd share the story. And yeah, I guess a lot of people have talked to me thinking we've built some models ourselves. We haven't done anything like that. I think you'll be surprised how easy a lot of this is. So yeah, I'm hoping for this talk that we can all leave sort of being able to build something similar. So yeah, we've got about, how long do we have? 45 minutes or? Anyway, we have a bit of time to get through it. We've got a good bit to cover. So Jenny, I'll just start sharing my screen and you can follow along now. So the fun thing is that all of OpenAI is down right now. So it's going to be, we'll see how we go. So I released a change at 3 o'clock today, and I thought it was me that broke our site, but it was all of OpenAI down. So I reverted the change. I was sure it was me that broke the whole bedtime story, but now these guys are down. So I'm just keeping an eye on it because it limits what I can demo. But I think they're starting to come back online. So how many people have even seen this before, the OpenAI playground? Yeah, a good few people. So yeah, I mean, you can basically create an API and have a rough version of a bedtime story going with just that. We do a bit more than that, but you're going to see how easy it all is. So let me see. Yeah, these are my slides. So some of my other talks that I've done in the past have been a bit more prepared, but I didn't even put these into slides. Why is the computer struggling? Go to Figma. Jenny, I'm probably going to stop sharing the screen because it's killing my Mac. God damn. Yeah, okay, I'll have to stop sharing the screen. Yeah. Sorry, give me 1 second there. The computer is dying there. Don't run Miro, Figma, and Google Meet at the same time. There's a bit of a tip for you. Yeah. So yeah, I actually created the slide, I think, after looking at the Journey 1 website, after meeting Christian. So it's sort of a little journey. So we just do a quick bit of generative AI background. I'll go through the bedtime story build. Yenny's going to talk about a fun little app she built for Valentine's Day. Then we're actually going to play around with trying to build a little app ourselves so that you guys know how to build one. And then we'll have a bit of fun at the end and a bit of Q&A. This is why people don't present on Miro, I figure out. What the hell? 1 second, sorry guys. Ah, lovely. My whole Mac restarted. Okay. Sorry about this. We'll be back online in a second.
Can we just fire some questions at you?
Yeah, fire away.
So one of the things that I've kind of been exploring is the power of the first prompt.
Yep.
And is that what you've discovered in what you've enabled your storyteller to do?
Yep.
Is that it's largely about the first prompt?
Well, to get with the OpenAI, yeah, the prompt is highly important. Yeah, so you have to play around with the right prompt that works for your product. So it took us a while to get the right prompt that worked for Bedtime Story. So we wanted a reliable length of paragraphs. Wanted to be able to parse those paragraphs reliably. So you had to play around with the right formula that would give us that. Sometimes it would give us 12 paragraphs. Sometimes it would give us 20 paragraphs. So finding the right thing to nudge it in that way. So when you know how large language models are built, it's more about just nudging it with different words. And every model that comes out, it changes. So the interesting thing is we're going to have to upgrade our prompts as we upgrade our software to test them out.
So
yeah.
do you have a method of injecting new information into the context window, or is it all just on that first prompt?
It's all on that first prompt, yeah. So we can go into Bedtime Story just to show you at the start. So it might not work because OpenAI are killing us right now. So we can go Brian presents at AWS user group Perth. And so a lot of it is really just putting a nice interface around it and trying to tame the output it gives you, because it can give you anything sometimes. So what I generally do is, if I find something that goes outside the normal, I grab all the text and put it into a unit test, and then I use that to improve what's actually coming out of it.
Do you have other things in the architecture? So are you exporting things to a different place?
Yeah, we'll go through that and you'll see it. So Brian was a young man who loved technology and particularly computer programming. So yeah, this is the big thing we've got. Let me go back to the slides and I'll show you this when I come back. So yeah, I guess leaving, you should have a good understanding of the ecosystem, a good understanding of the tools. You should be able to build a product, and you will want to build one. I think you'll be surprised how easy a lot of this is. This was my kind of theme with why I build things. I think in tech in particular, it's easy to just go off in a tech bubble and think you're, think what you're doing is right. But unless you put it out there with customers, you're not really going to know. So this talk is really to encourage you, I guess, to ship software and put it in customers' hands. I've changed a lot of the development practices I did as part of this. I've actually ditched a good few AWS tools in favor of things with Next.js and things like that for a quicker developer experience. So I'll show you some of that. Probably wouldn't have done it if I wasn't shipping a product and trying to stay on top of customers' requests. This is an example of what large language models can give you. I asked it to review this title to see if it made sense. And it said, LLM a person might not know LLM stands for someone with late-stage Lyme disease, so it can give you some mad things out of it. So I did put the slide back to large language model afterwards. So one thing I wanted to do as part of this was train a model on someone's face, so we can generate some images at the end, some avatars. So I do need a volunteer for someone to take 10 images of. So does anyone want to volunteer? Yeah. So if you come up here.
Come up now.
Yeah, if you come up. Yeah. Good stuff. So I think with, so we're going to train a model on Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion is it's sort of like GPT-3, but for images. So what we do is we take 10 images of you, we give you like a unique character name, we train it on Stable Diffusion, and then we should be able to put you in any setting we want. So people have made a lot of money building these apps, but it's also just a bit of fun.
I need a unique character name.
Yeah, so we'll pick a unique one.
Sorry, my name is David Smith, that's why. My parents weren't creative. AI might be better.
Right, so I'm going to take 10 pictures of you. Actually,
Where do you want me?
where do I want you? Yeah, this is going to be like Titanic here. Yeah, just over here.
All right,
Yeah.
done.
Cool. So I'll just do this quickly. Okay, I'll just do, so you have to do it kind of against different backgrounds too, so that it doesn't overfit the face. So yeah, gives a smile. I did a really weird face as well, and it actually picks up on weird faces, so we don't do that anymore. Okay,
All right.
cool. So that's 10 pictures. So yeah, I'm going to go through this very quickly at the start because it takes around 15 minutes to train the model. So we'll do that in the background. So I'll just take you through the process. Like I said, the goal of the talk is that you can do it yourself pretty easily and see how easy all of this stuff is. Okay. I use a lot of cheap tools for doing it too. Right. So this should come up in here. There's my ones from earlier. Don't make a face like that when you're training a Stable Diffusion model, because all of my avatars came out like that. So I just download all of those, and yeah, about 10 images is enough for things like this. So like the applications of this, why I'm doing this is that I want to be able to put children's characters into the stories. So right now the characters look, let's see how my story is coming on. The characters will look quite generic, but I want to make them personalized so that the children can put themselves in the story. So where's the download? So this is the download of David here. Personal. Okay, so this is my one from earlier, McFooderson. We're going to take out these images. So the one thing you find loads of weird things in the generative AI space. Like you just have to kind of roll with it because everything is a bit weird. So you have to name all the files the same. So what's your unique character name? Do you want to? It has to be completely unique in the world.
Someone else can come up with one for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Davo.
Davo, Smitho, AWS.
If he's not doing a shoey, I'll be impressed.
So CD personal. So all of these images have to be converted to 512 pixels. They all have to have the same name in it. And how you figure this stuff out in the generative AI space right now is you go on a Reddit and you figure all this out. There's really no other way. But if you're the first person to figure this stuff out, you can make a lot of money. For one of the guys, the first guy to come out with this avatar thing has made about $350,000 so far, just doing avatars. And he really hasn't done that much. I'll show you as we go along. He was just the first person to figure out how to do it. Then some VC companies came along. So we have all your images here. We just drag them. They all have to be 512 pixels. So we put them up here. This interface is really nice. This is what we want to put in BedtimeStory. I just drag along a square to pick out the best picture of you. And then it will export them all as 512 pixels. So that's what we're going to upload to this Colab. So this is a Jupyter Notebook on Google Colab. So yeah, I actually have never used SageMaker, so I need to figure out how to use SageMaker. But everything is on Google Colabs. So at the end, someone can help me figure out how to do this on SageMaker. So you just log in. You might need to buy some credits to get GPU. It just costs a tenner and you can get it. Otherwise, if there's free capacity, it will give you a GPU. It's taking.
I've asked what you're running at the moment. Are you running code to analyze those images?
Yeah, we're putting it into Stable Diffusion, which is a generative AI model. So what's happening here is it's downloading things to my Google Drive, and then it's got the Jupyter Notebook uses that with some GPU from Google. So you sign into Google, you download the dependencies, you have to download the Stable Diffusion 1.5 model. So Stable Diffusion has a few models. After 1.5 has no filters, so you can do explicit imagery, you can do anything like that. They came along and fixed that in version 2, which has made it more boring as well. So use version 1.5, it's a bit more fun. Yeah, they've put a lot of filters on the version 2, so most people are using Stable Diffusion 1.5. I'm just going to message Jenny quickly to tell her why I knocked her off.
So what are your thoughts on the Stable Diffusion distribution model versus the more corporatized approach?
Which corporatized? Do you mean DALI or?
Well, OpenAI, the constraints that they put on the model.
Yeah, so I think obviously Stable Diffusion is probably better if you're building a product because you have less constraints. We find it a lot with BedtimeStory. My daughter's name is Molly, and it'll reject a lot of images because it somehow thinks Molly is the drug. So it's just, Molly is a terrible name for generating imagery. So yeah, there's loads of weird quirks like that. So I definitely, one of my goals is to have a Stable Diffusion model running instead of using OpenAI, but I just haven't got around to it yet because you're always guaranteed to get an image back. And you would think OpenAI would be more reliable than what we put together, but it doesn't seem like it because they're struggling. So in here we have to, this is just an example of the things you have to do in the generative AI space. We create a session that has to be the same name as all the photos in it. And then we upload our instance images. So this is basically training the character. It's teaching the model that this is what Dave O. Smith AWS looks like. So we choose files, go to download. Which ones were they? Yeah. So this is you. So we upload all those files and I'm just going to message Jenny quickly. I think she's doing some other work anyway, so it's not too bad. This is taking a bit longer than I thought to do in the background, but we're going to kick off the training now. This is a fast version of Stable Diffusion, so it shouldn't take too long. We do about, I'm going to do 550 iterations of that, 200 of that. So that's it. It'll just kick off in the background. It should train the Stable Diffusion model, and then we'll come back at the end and see if we get any fun avatars of you. So really, that's all there is to a lot of these. If you see a lot of this avatar thing going on online, that's all there is to it. You just got to put some AWS DevOps around it, and you can do it for a lot of people. So that's what we're working on in BedtimeStory at the moment. So anyway, we go back to the talk. Generative AI. So what is generative AI? So it's a machine learning model that allows, it's an algorithm to create new and unique content that imitates human creativity. So whether it's new and unique is kind of, I suppose, a bone of contention for some people. Some think it's just really well plagiarized and hidden within some things. But the really cool thing about it is they figured out how to do this as an unsupervised algorithm. So it's basically consumed the entire internet. So it knows everything about anything that's been put online ever. If you've used ChatGPT, you realize that. The amazing thing about it is it's opened up a whole new range of products that can be built. And unless you really play around with it, I guess you won't understand what you can build with it. So that's why I'm kind of encouraging you to build something. Some examples are obviously GitHub Copilot. I think we've all used GitHub Copilot. If you haven't, yeah, it's pretty fun. I turn it off at times because it's a bit annoying, but it already writes supposedly 46% of the code on GitHub that's committed, so it's pretty insane in a few years. These guys raised 125 mil VC money. I just think the platform's pretty shit because I used it and it was, it's not that much to it. It's probably like, BedtimeStory is probably like 10% of what it does. can have a play with it though. It is quite interesting. And then these are the kind of guys. There's two guys who did this avatar thing first, and they'll both probably have made about $500,000 and won't have spent much money. And all they've done is basically done what we did there and put a nice front end on it. And then I think there's just fun little like developer tools you can do. This one is just someone automating their commit messages so they don't have to write them, which is extremely lazy, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do in your day to make it a bit more fun. So yeah. So yeah, how do we get into building on bedtime stories? So I guess in early November, I said to Linus, let's build a site that blends images and text together into a story generator for kids, because we both have young kids. Because I wanted to get us to get our heads into the generative AI space. So there's so much going on. I think you have to build to really understand it, because there's so many new models coming out every day, new things. Then Linus is a designer and a creative, so he comes back with things like this, like the next day, which is like turning it into a whole platform. So that's what we said about building. The kind of thing we had in our head was like the Netflix of children's stories, whether that makes sense or not. Yeah, so basically generating personalized children's content. So I can go home and tell my kid about the talk I did. So where's the Figma file? Let me just show you. The early designs were pretty basic. So we just had a Google image prompt with, where is it here? Doesn't Figma have a search thing now? Yeah, so it was basically just this, a loader, a prompt and a loader, and that took about 45 seconds to actually work. Customers didn't really like that, so I just changed the interface so that it felt like you were straight away getting into the AI, even though it isn't the AI. Molly goes to the beach. So I just put up this typing interface, which makes it feel like, so in the background, it's generating a title, it's generating the content, but it makes the user feel like something is happening straight away. And so once we changed to this interface, users started using it a lot more. We got our first sales with this interface. So it's sort of like I'm buying time here because it takes about 10 seconds for DALL-E to come back with an image. So we write the title, then we type out the paragraph, and then by the time that's done, the image should be ready. So it feels like everything is happening quite nicely.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Yeah.
This is a kid's story.
Yeah.
So is your language model the thing that you developed to make it be sort of kid-like? So it's for...
No, so all we do is tap into OpenAI's API and put in a prompt to say, generate this children's bedtime story.
But it knows not to put naughty words in there. And so
Exactly, yeah. Well, OpenAI is well filtered. That's the good thing about it. So it's not going to put out anything. So yeah, where was I at? So yeah, then it's all just built with Lambda at the back end. So I can get up the Miro board here as well. Yeah, so this is basically all I did for the first iteration. You request a story, it saves it to a Dynamo table. Then I have a story generator Lambda, which requests the title, just makes an API call to GPT-3. When I get the title, I use that to feed in to request the story. And then as the story is feeding through, I request images for each paragraph. So you can see that each paragraph sort of correlates to the paragraphs before it. And yeah, then I have an app sync front end in front of it that's calling through to get it. And you can build an app just with that. Like it's just, you get an OpenAI key. So where's OpenAI? You go in here, you sign up for OpenAI, you go to API keys, you create a new key, and then you can start making API calls. So all of this stuff you can, so here's an example. This is a bit different than our prompt, but OpenAI has gone down again. Anyway, we'll come back to it. So yeah, some of the early struggles with it was, so like you said, the large language model, we didn't do any actual machine learning development ourselves. We will be doing some stuff with the avatars ourselves, but the very first iteration, you can do everything through an API. So you can just put the front end in front of it and use their API. When we started building it, I actually didn't think we could release it because in one story, I said it was my friend wrote it killed the granny off. So right as he was reading it, it ends with the granny dying, which is like dreadful. A kid got diarrhea in another one. It was really unreliable what it would give us. So I literally had a filter that said, don't make the don't make the kids sick, don't kill anyone, things like this. But like with large language models, negative prompting doesn't really work. So if you tell it not to do something, it picks up the word and tries to do it a bit more. So it killed more grannies, gave more diarrhea. It was pretty dreadful. So very hard to get it. We wanted it to be so 10 paragraphs, 5 images, but then it would generate 20 paragraphs, things like that. So there's really like, it's as much of an art as it is engineering, this large language model stuff. You're just trying to write the right prompts that give you reliable outputs. We found that putting numbers in guided it to write the right amount of paragraphs. So putting in 1, 2 as in the prompt. Quickly just show you the stack and the code so you can see it. I used Turbo Repo. It's a Next.js thing. So it's just one single mono repo. Everything is in it. So I've got like, just got all the models in one package that we share with everything. We've got a back end here, which is all like ports and
Control plus that.
Yeah.
Blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. There. Yeah, so the back end is just a CDK app, the ports and adapters thing. So like, I just go, where is it? Text generator. Let me kill this one here. So I like the kind of ports and adapters pattern because it's nice to just forget about what's behind it. So I just say request a story, and then I have a GPT-3 one that implements that. I can easily swap that out to another one if I go to it. So there's things in here that it does for GPT-3 specifically. I have one for DALL-E for generating images, things like that. But basically you just have a Lambda which goes, give me a story. Behind that I have a GPT-3 thing that calls OpenAI through a key, which is stored in Secrets Manager. And that really lets me, like, I'll be easily able to plug in Stable Diffusion and things like that without changing my code too much.
Is this open source?
This one isn't, no, but we will show you an open source one that Jenny built. Then we just have an API client, so just have an API client that does a load of integration tests to verify it works. So a user can check if a story is okay. That just builds an API client, and then in the apps we just have a Next.js. I was pretty new to Next.js kicking this off, so it's, I didn't understand server-side rendered versus client-side rendered because I didn't even think about it. I'd be used to doing native apps. So a lot of the mistakes I made was doing client-side renders, which doesn't work for, client-side rendering doesn't work for sharing stories, so it won't show the actual nice images and the OG tags and things like that. So one of the big mistakes we made when we started off, so if I go to bedtimestory.ai, and I go to a library, and I go like this. One of the things about content like this is it goes viral pretty quickly, and when it goes viral, you want to maximize how that looks. So if I go in here and go random, Slack doesn't actually show images for this, but you want, in WhatsApp and things like that, you want it to look really good. So you want it to all render really well, and that means doing server-side rendering. So if you're using React and I developed this lovely front end which was all client-side rendered, and then realized I had to go server-side rendered to get all of this stuff. So there's things like, Next.js has get server-side props. Once you export that function, it calls that in the back end and renders your story on the server so that you can do nice, nice OG tags so that it looks good. Anyway,
Brian, are you using regular Lambda for the SSR or like Lambda at Edge or something like that?
I'm just using regular Lambda, but I could use Lambda at Edge actually. Yeah. Take a note of that, cheapen things up. But yeah, it is actually really simple. But this is like something that I found is like the proof of concept is about 10 commits, and then from there on you get paying customers, and the next it's like 1,000 commits, and it doesn't look that much different. But there's so many little things you have to do to turn it into like a commercial product that people are happy paying for, that they stay around for, things like that. So we passed our like 1,000 commit there, I think it was last week, 1 week ago. So it's a lot of work to turn it from something that's a proof of concept to then paying customers and like growing your monthly recurring revenue. One of the surprising things we found is that you get every language in the world for free. So we went really viral in France the last couple of weeks. So I'm doing a lot of customer support in French. So all they have to do is put in the prompt right in French, and they get French lessons. You can do educational content, so your kids can, these are just things we figured out after we built it, that we could actually like turn it into an educative platform that turns education into stories. So it's one of the good things about just getting out there and building something. It'll probably take you in a different direction than you thought it would. So I think there's a real opportunity for us. There's a few people in Canada reached out to us to do educative content for schools in Quebec, and we were like, oh, okay, but we don't want to do it right now. But yeah, there's some mad opportunities that come through because it's a global thing instantly, and every language works out of the box. So yeah, getting the first sale was a big thing for us. So we did the least amount possible to get the sale. So we used Stripe payment links. So it's really cool. Stripe just lets you programmatically generate a link that's unique to the customer. Let me show you here. So we actually just kick the user out to Stripe's webpage when they click on it. And then every time the user pays, we get a webhook back into our AWS infrastructure. So I think it's this one. When I create the payment link, I just have to put some metadata in the payment link that links them back to our platform. And then when the webhook comes back in, we just go, okay, this user has paid for subscription, let them use it. So very little development on our part, and very cheap. So if you do go and build something after this, just put a Stripe payment link there and just see if customers will pay. It's really easy to do. You just, let me see if I have it here. Yeah. Because the main problem we make as developers is we don't ask for money for things we build. And we should, because we deserve it. So yeah, Stripe have an API. You just go paymentlinks.create. You give it a redirect URL, and then you can give it some metadata. So that's all I did. When a user signs up, I generate a payment link for them. And when they go into the app, when they click on that link, they go off to Stripe. And then you can actually manage the subscription from Stripe as well. So I don't have to do anything with managing it. You go off to Stripe, you do your email, and they can cancel their plan through Stripe as well. So no work on my part to manage any of the payment infrastructure. So yeah, that is it so far on the bedtime story build. Some mistakes we made. This is the big mistake I made, because if you look at the Miro board, I was like, I'll just store them in S3 and serve them from there. And I never realized how much data transfer costs were in AWS. So this was like 700. I logged in one day, I didn't have alerts on, and I was like, what the hell? So yeah, once I put a CloudFront in front of it was fine. Yeah, it's one of those things I did in the AWS Pro. I ticked all the boxes you should use CloudFront, and then I forgot about it. And then I released a product that went viral, and luckily I had some credits, so it was not too bad. The one thing I wouldn't do again is I wouldn't use DynamoDB up front. So I used DynamoDB at the start, and I just locked us into some access patterns, and it feels really hard now, because we're obviously changing things a lot, it feels really hard to just like throw up a query that goes, give me the user, the story, and the subscription. It's just pretty messy. So next time I build something from the start, I'm just going to throw up an RDS, maybe a serverless one, and just use that. And then when it stabilizes, I mean, like you choose Dynamo for scale, but 99% of the things we build never hit scale, so we don't need to worry about them. So I would definitely next time put up an RDS instance, get the access patterns nailed, and then just pump the data into Dynamo, because it's not that hard anyway to do, right? What else did I do? Yeah, forgetting about SEO. So I don't have the figures. I wanted Linus to send it through to me. But at the start, when you release something like this, all the traffic comes from Twitter and places like that. But you see very quickly that like ultimately you're Google's bitch if you're on the web. So all of your traffic suddenly starts to switch from Twitter to Google. So if you don't have all your SEO set up, Google can punish you for up to 3 months. So things like cumulative layout shifts and things like that. So we can now see, like we have about 10,000 pages indexed, so we can see the traffic is switching from virality on Twitter to like just Google search. So ultimately, if it's going to be a long-term successful platform, we need to own the SEO side of it. So thinking about that is a big thing. Yeah, so this is the open source thing that you were looking for. So I'm just going to play a video by Jenny. So she's going to talk through, she built an app within a couple of hours, which was, I can never spell this thing. Is that it? Anyway, I'll play her video and then I'll show it to you afterwards. So this is basically how you can build something within a couple of hours if you want to go and do that. Where's the loom? I need to put this over here. 1 second. I get to take a breather. It's great.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm building bedtime stories together with Brian and Ines. I just want to pop in and say hi and to share with you what you can do if you want to start building with AI or if you just want to change your scenery for an evening. So what I did the other week was that I felt a little bit stuck on a problem in our project, and I just wanted to do something quick and simple and fun. So I want to go from idea to finished project in an evening, and Valentine's Day was approaching and I was feeling, okay, this is a clear goal, a clear scope and a clear deadline. So I went to do a little love letter generator. I will show you how it looks like. So it's called Valentine's.day with AI in the name.
That's what it's
Looks
called.
like this, and what you can do here is that you can fill in some details about your Valentine and a message for a personal touch if you want to, and who it's from. So I'm going to make this one to copy my youngest daughter, 11 months and wild. It's my daughter. Here's a relationship which will, of course, make the message personalized or customized to whatever you put in here. So we take all of these details from the user and we craft it together with some extra stuff and send that as a prompt to OpenAI's GPT, the DaVinci model, and we get back 2 love letters, just to have some kind of choosability. So this was with a cosmic vibe, and that gives you something like this. Sweet Poppy, your gracious spirit lights up the world like cosmic twinkle in my heart, and so on and so on. You can switch this to something else, and it should be a different vibe to it. So this project is built with Next.js and Versal Edge functions, which is super fast. And as I said, we're using OpenAI GPT-3, and I'll show you in the code. Here it is, and the DaVinci model. So this is just nothing else but kind of straight taken from OpenAI's own documentation. You can play around with the temperature and so on to see what that gives you. You need an API key, but you get that for free as well if you want to play around with it. In the index.jsx, here is where I play around with the different vibes and making the prompt together with whatever you select in the drop-down, your names that you put in, the relation, and the extra message. And yeah, this is what I come up with. It's quite ugly, the code itself, but it's fun and it works, and it was done in a couple of hours, so I'm quite happy with it. It's styled with Tailwind CSS, so just some basic styling there. I would suggest, if you haven't done anything with AI before, play around with it and do that. It's super fun, and you don't have to build the whole platform as we're trying to do with BedtimeStory. You can build something simple and fun like Valentine's.day or something else. You can check out the repo on GitHub if you want to dig into how I did this, or just reach out to me if you want to. I guess Brian can share more details somehow. I'm in Sweden, by the way, right now, so I'm not with you in person today. It was a bit far to travel just for this evening, but I hope you enjoy Brian's talk and get as excited as we are about AI and what you can do with it. See you.
Yeah, that's cool. So I don't know if you've seen how fast that streamed out the love letters. It was crazy fast. So after Jenny built that, I was like, what the hell? Why is my thing running like this? So yeah, I wasn't happy because you can see the way I did it in AWS. I submit it, then I do a poll. So I was like, fuck, she's not beating me at that. So now it's kind of cool. It's one of the great things about doing those small side projects because you get to do it completely differently. You forget, like even after just 2 months, I have a load of technical debt built up. So her building something fresh that only took a few hours, it kind of showed me like, there's a lot of easier ways to do it. So I just went off then and integrated it. So this is the old way. Let's see the old way. What was he saying? Molly goes to the beach. And I was really proud of this. And then I seen Jenny's and I was like, fuck. So, you know, this is kind of, I thought this was really good. And then you see the other way and it feels really slow. So with Vercel and Edge functions, it is insane how fast it all works. So create, this is the new one that I'm going to release. So hopefully this works. OpenAI, don't let me down. Yeah, so there's like instantly. But because it's so fast, I have to like do an image loader. So there's loads of like user experience things you need to play around with. But like once I got to this, the other way I feel so outdated so quickly. So with Jenny's repo, you can do this really easily. Yeah, so that's, you can see quickly, within like 15, 20 seconds, you've got a whole like story generated with everything. So yeah, I would definitely recommend for all of this stuff playing around with Next.js and Vercel Edge functions because it's so fast. I had to kind of leave behind some AWS stuff that I was doing, like my Lambda addiction I had to curb. So things like that. There is a lot of cool new tools out there and it integrates pretty well with, I still send it all back to AWS. I'm going to do all the, like when I do the stable diffusion, it's going to run on Fargate probably. I'm going to be using S3, but on the front end, when it depends on user experience, there's some better tools out there right now than what AWS have. So make the most of them and integrate them into AWS. What else was there? Yeah, I think let's see what else we have. Yeah, so we check back on that stable diffusion model quickly. Yeah. Okay, so it's built now, it's done the model, so we get to run the, what did I call you again? Davos Smith AWS. So the great thing about this, these Jupyter notebooks is it runs up a whole interface for me to play around with it afterwards. So that'll just take a few minutes to run. Did anyone have any questions in the meantime? Yeah. Temperature is a good one, yeah. So the way large language models work is it basically, I'm not an expert on this, but the prompt you give projects it into some space in the neural network. And then it basically just decides what the next word is going to be based on the probability of the previous word. So it might have a probability of 5% for the, 4% for or something. The temperature, the higher the temperature, the more random the next word. So if you lower the temperature, it'll always pick the more reliable word, like the one that's come more previously. So higher temperature is more creative, lower temperature is more like, if you were writing this for writing prescriptions for people, you would do 0 temperature because you don't want any creativity in there. For BedtimeStory, we play around somewhere between 0.7 to 0.9 because it gives a bit of creativity, but it doesn't go too crazy. So yeah, that's what that does. So it depends on your application. If you're doing something for work and it's going to be formal, temperature of 0 probably.
But 0 temperature doesn't eliminate the hallucination.
No, yeah, it can still completely make something up. So yeah, if you say something like it exists, then it believes you and it just goes along with you. So like oftentimes, I don't know if you use ChatGPT and it says you something completely wrong, you just say, no, you're wrong, and then it'll go, oh yeah, I'm wrong. So I don't know what temperature ChatGPT would be at, but you can't tweak it. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Easy crowd. How much longer do we have left on the talk? I don't know. Well, we can run up Jenny's repo if you want and just have a play with it. It depends if you guys want to do that. This will just be another couple of minutes. What else is going on here?
I'm sure someone's got a question.
You'd love to see the repo, yeah. Yeah, I think if we've got, is everyone okay to spend 10 minutes just building an app? I can just clone Jenny's repo. So I guess what would be good is that we start fresh and clone it out, and then you can see these are just steps you can repeat yourself when you go home. Personal, user group, let's open up this. Right there. So I did have some, not that. Yeah, one of the things is Google and AWS don't expose a large language model as an API. I really wish they did. I don't know what they're really doing behind the scenes. But if AWS had a version of it, I would use it because I don't like having an API key. I have it in Secrets Manager, but anytime there's an API key, I hate it because if someone gets that, I've like a few grand USD on it, so they can just fleece me. So yeah, I'm hoping that AWS will release something similar to what OpenAI have, but it seems like OpenAI just have a bit of magic going on that makes them produce better large language models.
Have you seen the latest Google Mind
No,
model?
I haven't. Is it like?
Yeah.
Is it like?
It's also called Ada, like the original
Okay,
GPT
right.
model, but its ability to learn is extraordinary.
Okay. So what's an example of what it'll learn?
So they give these agents challenges within a domain which has rules.
Yeah. Okay.
And they increase the complexity of the rules over time, and the agents are able to learn the rules
Okay.
extraordinarily quickly.
So is that available as an API or is it?
Where I saw it was on 2-minute papers, so I suspect that he was given privileged access.
Yeah, okay.
Because Google don't typically
Google, yeah. Google don't give you anything. They just hide it away in their little vault.
But
So-
check out the paper. And
Okay, I will.
it's unbelievable.
Okay, if you send that through to me. So I did create a Discord. I'll send it out afterwards. I call it Generative AI Builders Perth. I created this through DALI. But yeah, if you want to hop online, it'll really just be, the goal with this is that you do build a product if you join. So hop online and I'll be online too. And I'll help guide you through a product build if you want. But yeah, I think there's just so much fun stuff you can build. I'll send that out and hop online if you want. So I'll just clone this repo quickly. And you'll see how simple some of this stuff is to get something up and running. I'm guessing it's Yarn. How does it work? Yeah, it's just Yarn dev. So I use the Next.js 12, which is just pages. So there's literally just one page, which is the index file. What's going on in there? There's nothing too fancy going on. The prompt, she basically just has a load of variables from the inputs on the screen. And every time you change that, it changes the prompt. And then when you click submit, it's calling out to the edge function. So Vercel, this is the thing I really love about building with Next.js. So you know when you're building with CDK or Lambdas and you have to deploy it, and you have to wait for the deploy and then you test it. Whereas with Vercel, when I run this all up, all the edge functions are running locally on my computer, along with the app. So like as I change the edge function, it changes like within a couple of milliseconds. So like that timeline of deploying out to AWS and waiting just kills you, especially when you're trying to be creative. So yeah, I really like edge functions for that. Yeah, within a few milliseconds you have it. So you can see here, you set an OpenAI key within Vercel. I'll just show you Vercel quickly so you know how that works. So Vercel, you just log on, you hook it up to your GitHub. If it is a Next.js repo, it knows how to build it already. So you literally log in, it'll set it up. Every time you commit, it'll do a deploy, and you'll have an actual, it'll send up a domain where your app runs. Then there's a place to put in environment variables, a bit like Secrets Manager in AWS. So I can just put in here and put in my OpenAI key. That makes it instantly available to all the edge functions. If you're running locally, you just need a .env.local file, which will do it. So yeah, deployed, you need them in here. Running locally, you need a .env.local file. So let's see this running. So a love letter for Valentine's. So I'll just put in some console logs. I really like this thing that Jenny did because it's very simple compared to some of the I tend to.
Storing anything, or is it just?
No, it's just storing it in like React state.
Yeah.
So you can see the prompt right now. It generates 2 messages, playful and upbeat. So I think she's generated some defaults. So what's the name of your Valentine? Molly. So she's just updating the prompt in React state. So we should see Molly in there. Yeah, a love letter to Molly. So she's just modifying the prompt as we go. She's a rascal. It's from Brian. So you can see she's just modifying the prompt. She is my daughter. Yeah. So that's all she's doing, is just creating React state to modify the prompt. She sends that over to, let's just log it out here. Prompt. So you'll see the logs here locally. You won't see it on the browser, obviously. Generate your love letter. Oh yeah, so it doesn't have a .env.local file. If OpenAI let me in, I will create an API key and then delete it before you guys get to use it on me. Who can I trust in here? How quick can you generate 1,000 images through DALL-E? So yeah, I think AWS and Google are really missing an opportunity, because OpenAI is so unstable. Like if AWS had a large language model I could use, I would be on it straight away. But I guess it can spit out things that are completely insane. So I guess OpenAI have less to lose than AWS. Okay, which one? I'll use this one because this one has less credit. Someone can steal if it does happen. I'll just check on our avatar thing as well. Okay, it's running. You ready for prime time, Dave? Okay, that's OpenAI is taking a while. All right, I'll come back to you, Dave. 1 second. Yeah. Fuck me, OpenAI. No, we'll have to give up on OpenAI. Actually, I can. I'm just going to turn this off while I grab my expensive API key. Okay. We should be back. Oh wait, the file's still up. Molly, rascal. So yeah, it's working now that I've put my open API key in. So lovely. So you could change this to, it's an AWS user group meetup, so we can say, what will we say? We just modify the prompt. Write the bot03 code. So write the bot03 code for this. We'll just get, and we'll just use the, what field is that? Personal touch. So that's the message. Okay. So I'll just use the message field and put it in here. And it should spit it out for us. So if I go list all S3 buckets, hopefully it'll work. So obviously the formatting is pretty shit, but if I turn that into an editor, you see a lot of it is just having a bit of fun. If you're doing AWS stuff, they have a really good design library now. What's the name of the new design library? Anyone remember? No, they have a new one that I used for Cloud Canvas, my failed project. So yeah, this is really good if you're doing an AWS. If you want to take this and do something AWS specific with it, they do have a nice editor, code editor. So yeah, you could just inject this in and put the output into this and let people play with it. So if you want to do something like that. Anyway, back to Dave. So I did do some of the stable diffusion prompts are like, this is where the prompt engineering comes in. That is an insane prompt. I didn't come up with it. So, we'll see if this actually worked. So this is a stable diffusion web UI. So it's like a layer on top of it that runs the model for you. We'll do 5 batch. In here you can do how many images you want to generate. This is the unique character. It should pick it up. So hopefully it works. I have sometimes just messed something up and it doesn't pick up the character. If that happens, I'll load the old one of me.
You have to say 5 fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, so this isn't just a copy paste. Obviously, it's going to place him in very similar settings because of the photos we took. Ideally, you'd put up in different locations. But this isn't just copying the images. It's actually generating it through the neural network. Don't really look very Jedi in this though. Oh, there. Oh, yeah. Now we're laughing. Yeah. Ooh, snazzy. Yeah, there's nothing Jedi-ish about that one. Let's zoom in a bit.
You already look like a Jedi.
That's a pretty cool one. I don't know about the face there. It's got the face of it, right? So we'll do one more. What else will we do? Red blush on the couch wearing clothes. That's a good one.
Say that again.
Red blush on the couch. Something like that. I don't know where I came across this. It was more for a sexy woman sort of vibe, but... Ah, sugar.
So the thing that I've come to understand is that the trick is with neural networks is you're trying to excite a certain part of the
Yep.
data that it refers to. So the more specific you are, sometimes the more accurate the outcome that you get is.
Yep.
Other times, the more specific you are is the more that you narrow it down.
Yeah.
And so if you can be broad in a way that excites the neural network, you can generate very creative outcomes.
Yeah, and it's more of a creative pursuit than an engineering pursuit for sure. But this is probably like a fleeting field of, like someone's going to be the best prompt engineer in the world and then a new model will come out and make that whole field obsolete because, but like I said, there's people who are making a lot of money out of doing this stuff. So it's kind of first mover advantage. And that's where things like using Next.js and stuff and moving really quickly really matter. Because the people who are building these things are moving fast. It's hard to keep up with them. Not too impressed by those ones.
Yeah, sorry, it's the subject more than
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we'll do one more of you, see if we can get you as a male warrior, and then we're done. But yeah, a lot of this is just playing around with the number of training steps, the different photos. So you can see building a product on top of it is quite messy. You need to guide the customer to give the right photos. You need to give them the right inputs. I'm not sure how it's going to go when we integrate this into BedtimeStory because it's going to be kids who look somewhat mutilated sometimes. So it's going to be interesting, but you can see why it's the kind of it's the kind of thing no established corporate would do. Yeah, they're pretty good. Oh, look at Bob. That's pretty. We'll save that one. I'll send it to you after. Yeah. But yeah, you can see from the stuff that it does, it's the kind of thing that no established player will use because it's so unreliable, which gives you a real opportunity as someone who has nothing to lose. Like if BedtimeStory, like if it fails, who cares? You know, I'd rather take a risk. So there's a real window of opportunity now while the tech is really can do mad shit like this. That the big players, you've seen Google and Amazon won't release something, OpenAI will. On a smaller scale, there's other spaces where people won't integrate it. One example I had was like Intercom. Well, I'm using Intercom now for customer support, and it won't auto-translate the messages for me. So like when I go into Intercom, French will be in French, and I'm like, why doesn't it just auto-translate that? Like you can use GPT to say, what language is this? Please translate it. And I could write it in English and it could translate it for me. but every once in a while it will do something mad. So a big company like Intercom won't use it, but if you're a startup, you have nothing to lose, right? Like the worst thing that happens is you just get sued and you're closed down again. Which is not that bad. It's a swift end. So yeah, it's a good time to build. If you can, play with these tools and have a go. Yeah, that's it. Cool. Cool. No more questions, no? Good. Cool.
Thank you very much, Brian.
No worries.
And Yenny as well.
Yeah, I'll have to.
What I love about this is it's like a lesson in fact users don't use tech, right? They use solutions for something. And yeah, so all the jiggery pokery and smarts under the hood doesn't, doesn't matter. You take the easiest road there and to get to the outcomes. That's thank you for
No worries. Yeah.
However, I think the main thing I'm going to take away is put a payment link on it.
Yes. Put a payment link on. Yeah. Use Stripe. Sign up. Get it out there. Yeah. See if anyone clicks. Yeah.
Davo Smitho AWS. Thank you very much for your contribution. Would you like some credits? Cheers.
Thank you, buddy.
Next session. So I lied last month when I said that we'd probably be doing IoT this month. We didn't, but we probably will in March. It's obviously not 100% locked in, but we're pretty confident that we've got a session on IoT, and in particular choosing which stack to use on your devices, your IoT devices, and how that integrates in the back end. So that's pretty exciting. I'm not sure if I mentioned last month, but there was a time when there was quite a few sort of hands-on type workshops would go on about town, and I'm thinking sort of pre-COVID. That never really came back, and we saw that was a bit of a gap. So user group organisers have been working on trying to put one of these together. We're not going to give you a date right now, but it's pretty soon. So once we've got the details locked in, we will let you know. Unless you want to.
Well, we're tentatively saying the 30th of March, which is a Thursday, and it will be 1 to 4.
So if you're interested, put a placeholder in your calendar for the 30th in the afternoon, and we'll confirm in due course. Any questions or feedback, community announcements, anything you wanted to say to the group?
Community announcement? The latency conference, put your talks in, latencyconf.io, Corp Papers closes at midnight next Monday. We'd love to hear more of these kinds of stories. Please share your work.
And workshops as well.
Yeah, workshops as well. Talks and workshops.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just do a quick morning startup. So every 2 weeks we have a Meetup for morning startup at 7:30 a.m. right here.
Right here.
So if you want to start a business like this guy and get it off the ground, come on.
Cool.
Member survey forthcoming.
Member survey. So we thought it was time to put 1,400 of you, apparently. So it's time. We don't get a lot of unsolicited feedback at the moment, so we're going to solicit some. When you do see it come through, it won't be spam. Please give us your feedback and be honest. Just on the chairs out the back there is some swag from the recap event, which turned up 3 or 4 days after the recap event. So feel free to take some on your way out. If there's nothing else.
Where do I send? I have an appendix of links that I just wanted to send on. Is there a good place to send that?
We will drop that on the Meetup event page.
Okay,
That's
cool.
usually the place to go, so if you want to send it through.
Yeah, I'll send the links to those GitHub repos if anyone wants to build with them, and some other things. Yeah, cool.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.